Bryan Kohberger's secret family drama. Serial killers and murderers are known for their horrific crimes, but what about their families they leave behind? In this video, we look at Bryan Kohberger and how the murders he has been accused of have affected his family, and how his formative years may have shaped him into the killer he's accused of being. The emotional and psychological impact on these families is devastating and long-lasting. They are often forced to live with the guilt and shame of their loved ones' actions and face the judgment and hatred of society. Family members of these criminals must also cope with the trauma of possibly losing a loved one while simultaneously struggling to understand the monstrous acts committed by them. This eye-opening video sheds light on a rarely discussed topic and invites viewers to reflect on violent crime's complex and far-reaching consequences. As the preliminary hearing for University of Idaho murder suspect Bryan Kohberger is scheduled for June 2023, social media users are delving deeply into his troubled childhood and teenage years. Kohberger is accused of murdering Kaylee Gonsalves, 21, Madison Mogan, 21, Zana Knodel, 20, and Ethan Chapin, 20, on November 13, 2022, in their off-campus rental residence. 4 counts of first-degree homicide and 1 count of burglary have been brought against Kohberger. Now, social media users are discussing how his parents' relationship problems and other family issues might have shaped his twisted personality. We need to remember that any theory or story at this point in the case is exactly that, a theory or a story. Kohberger, born in 1994, is the youngest and only son of Michael Kohberger Jr., 67, and Mary Ann Kohberger, 62. With his 2 elder sisters, Amanda and Melissa, Kohberger grew up in Effort, Pennsylvania, before his family moved to the exclusive Indian Mountain Lake neighborhood in Albrightsville. Kohberger's parents worked for the Pleasant Valley School District throughout his childhood. Michael Kohberger Jr. was a maintenance worker for the school district from 2006 to June 2019, while Mary Ann Kohberger worked as a paraprofessional assisting pupils with special needs until approximately 2020, according to records. It is uncertain what Kohberger's relationship with his mother was like, but his former classmate Deja Mann has described her as the most warm-hearted, kind individual. Bryan's mother was my special needs teacher. Whenever I was sad or depressed, she was always there right by my side. She would always cheer me up. Mann recalled that Mary Ann never spoke about her son, an aggressive recluse with social problems. Mary Ann, a registered Democrat, expressed her views on abortion, the death penalty, and gun control in the Pocono Daily Record newspaper. And by analyzing her choice of subject matter, we can see that she is a woman fervently opposed to any form of violence. In a letter to the editor from March 2008, she said, "I do not personally support abortion, and by all means do not support the death penalty." In a second letter titled, "I pray we consider the children before the gun," published in May 2022 in response to the school massacre at Uvalde, Mary Ann said that she was wrestling with which actions needed to be taken to stop all the madness. Social media commentators are now curious about how Kohberger's home life may have influenced his personality. Noting that his family had previously filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy twice, the first time in 1996 and the second time in 2010, and falling back on the time-tested Freudian excuse, a Reddit user theorized that Kohberger's mother might have had the most significant influence on his future behavior, contrary to what others have said about her nurturing personality. The Kohberger's last bankruptcy filing, BK, was about 14 or 15 years old. They surrendered their home, lost it, something BK mentions was a traumatic experience. You can imagine how difficult the home environment was, and how stressed BK's father must have been, and the chronic verbalized disappointment and anger in his failure to provide for the family. The stress of worrying over money, the fear of shame, and the finger pointing. I suspect BK's mom is dominating and may have belittled her husband a lot. On the outside, former students remarked how sweet she was. However, I think BK witnessed his mom berating his father, and he, BK, developed complex feelings about women as a result. Out of all of his family members, he only seemed to feel something for his dad. Pity. Even BK admitted to mistreating his dad. It seems to me that BK developed a hatred for women, not just from rejection, but from witnessing a woman dominating and belittling a man he pitied as weak. BK is reported as a misogynist. I can understand why. He felt it empowered him over women, something his father could not do. He didn't want to be his father, the user added. This theory is wholly speculative and can only be proven if and when Kohberger's psychiatric evaluations are released. More is known about Kohberger's teenage years via his fellow pupils, and some of the stories paint a picture of a very troubled, antisocial young man. In high school, Kohberger was overweight and victimized by bullies. During his senior year, he suddenly lost 100 pounds, and according to his peers, he transformed in more ways than one. Casey Arndt, who hung out in the same group as Kohberger, remarked, "He was rail thin. It was after that weight loss that a lot of people noticed a huge switch." Arndt alleged that Kohberger tormented her brother, a member of the same social circle, to the point of placing her brother in chokeholds. When Bryan would get kinda angry with him, he would gaslight him and get physically aggressive. Her brother Thomas said that Kohberger enjoyed pointing out his flaws and insecurities, and did so constantly. The 26-year-old said, "He would go after my intelligence. He would basically insinuate that I'm kind of slow-witted, and that I'm forgetful, and that I lack the intelligence to be his friend. He was mean-spirited. He was a bully. I never thought he would do something like that, but at the same time, it doesn't really surprise me." This aggressive nature was also described by other friends. Nick McLaughlin, age 26, attended classes with Kohberger at both Pleasant Valley High School and Monroe County's vocational school, and said that Kohberger was interested in becoming a police officer and enrolled in criminal justice classes. According to a former teacher, Kohberger's interest in law enforcement was clear, and he was passionate about criminal justice. She said, "He was just a regular 12th grader, had a few friends, was a good student. I thought he would become a police officer or correctional officer. He liked to watch movies about police and asked me the next day if I'd seen it. It was more than a hobby for him. He was always asking questions." In addition to criminology, Kohberger had a new hobby after losing weight, according to Nick McLaughlin: boxing. "He always wanted to fight somebody," he explained. "He was bullying people. We started cutting him off from our friend group because he was 100% a different person." Another acquaintance, Bree, would say that Kohberger's altered behavior included substance abuse, alleging that he began using heroin. She remarked that people were not his strong suit. Bree explained, "You just saw him becoming more self-destructive. He really stayed secluded." However, many believed that Kohberger was performing better after high school. "He was telling me that he wanted to get sober, that he was getting sober," Bree said, "and he wanted to let me know, I'm gonna do better, I'm gonna be better." Kohberger continued his education at DeSales University in Center Valley, Pennsylvania, earning a bachelor's degree in psychology in 2020 and a master's degree in criminal justice in 2022. Teachers and peers have described him as intelligent, focused, and almost obsessed with criminology. Michelle Bolger, an associate professor at DeSales, described Kohberger as a great writer and brilliant student. "In my 10 years of teaching, I've only recommended 2 students to a PhD program, and he was one of them," she told a reporter. "He was one of my best students ever. Everyone is in shock over this." However, Kohberger left a different impression on the employees of a brewery in the same city as the university. The owner of Seven Sirens Brewing Company, Jordan Serelnek, told a news station that female employees complained about a suspect who often sat alone at the bar, observing and watching. The staff reported that Kohberger made creepy comments. He'll have 2 or 3 beers and then just get a little too comfortable. Serelnek said that Kohberger once called a female worker and if women did not respond to his attentions and liking, he would get upset with them a little bit. Kohberger left Pennsylvania after graduating from DeSales to pursue a PhD at Washington State University in Pullman, Washington, just across the state line from the University of Idaho in Moscow. He was also a teaching assistant in the Department of Criminal Justice and Criminology at Washington State University. B.K. Norton, a fellow graduate student, remarked that his subdued, focused demeanor kind of creeped people out, and she claimed he made remarks about the LGBTQ community that made some uneasy. Norton said, "He stared and didn't talk much, but when he did it was very intelligent, and he needed everyone to know he was smart." Benjamin Roberts, a fellow WSU graduate student in the same program as Kohberger, voiced her sentiments regarding the Kohberger's academic arrogance. Roberts elaborated. He would describe things in the most complicated, perhaps academic way possible. It was like he was trying to convince people that he knew what he was talking about. According to reports, Kohberger's efforts to understand the interior workings of the criminal mind were as meticulous as his zealot-like dietary habits. A relative told reporters that Kohberger's diet was very, very weird and went beyond being vegan. Relatives had to buy new pots and pans because he refused to eat from anything that had ever been used to cook meat, she said, adding that he appeared to be very OCD. The crimes that Kohberger is accused of have impacted not only the victims' families, but also his own. Kohberger's family has said that they were shocked and do not think he was responsible for the deaths of the 4 students. They don't believe it to be Bryan. They can't believe this. Monroe County Chief Public Defender Jason Labar said, "They're obviously shocked. This is certainly completely out of character, the allegations, and really they're just trying to be supportive with the understanding that these 4 families have suffered loss." In January, his family issued a statement saying that they would stand by him, adding, "We will love and support our son and brother." Several months after the arrest, Kohberger's family faces many difficulties. Melissa Kohberger, his elder sister, was a school counselor, and Amanda Kohberger, his younger sister, was an actress. Both have apparently been terminated from their jobs due to their relation to Kohberger. According to reports, Kohberger's family has not visited him in prison, but they have spoken with him over the phone. Carrie Rawson, daughter of Dennis Lynn Rader, also known as the BTK killer, discussed the impact on the family when relatives are accused of committing crimes. As far as we know at this time, Kohberger's family are also crime victims, Rawson said. While the Kohberger's family has had their privacy invaded, financial records put on public display, and lost their sources of income, Kohberger continues to implicate himself through the bizarre behavior he is exhibiting in prison. Kohberger spends his days in a Pennsylvania prison ranting and reciting the lyrics to violent rap songs and trying to expose himself to a female detainee who was held in a nearby cell. Valerie Cipollina, age 50, has revealed that Kohberger taunted officers by claiming they were too afraid to enter his cell. Kohberger repeatedly shouted, "I cut them, I'll cut you," according to Cipollina, who was detained in the Monroe County Jail. "You come in here and I'll cut you. I'm going to pee on your face. Do what you want with me. I don't give a Kohberger allegedly yelled at one guard. A preliminary probable cause hearing is scheduled for Kohberger on June 26th. Bad Things will update you on any new revelations in this horrific case. If you love our content and want to support the channel, feel free to check out our web shop, where you can find exclusive true crime merch brought to you by Bad Things.